Okay, well, thank you, James. Yes, I appreciate it. It's good to know that the federal agencies are sharing. And so, Bridget, could you tell us about design for the environment?
Happy to.
Thanks.
We were trained on how to use these, so okay. My name is Bridget Williams. I'm the outreach lead for Design for the Environment. It's a program at EPA. It's a voluntary partnership program in our Office of Pollution Prevention and Toxics. So that's the TSCA side of EPA, for those of you familiar. As I mentioned, we're a voluntary program. We work with product manufacturers and chemical manufacturers on a voluntary basis. We review their products for basically chemical safety. So we look at all of the chemicals in a product, and we assess it against our standard for safer products. And in that standard, we have criteria that we've developed for each chemical class. So when we look at a product, we would look at the solvents, and we would assess them against our safer solvent criteria. We have criteria for surfactants, fragrances. Basically, I guess if you're looking for a performance test, you would go to DLA, it sounds like. If you're looking for a chemical safety test, you would come to DFE, Design for the Environment. We are, let's see, so as I mentioned, product manufacturers come to us, we review those chemicals. If those chemicals meet our criteria, in 2012, we published our safer chemical ingredients list. It is epa.gov/DFE/safer ingredients. So these are chemicals that we've reviewed through our program. They meet our criteria, and we encourage product manufacturers to go to that list, to look at their products, to see what's on our list, and to see if maybe they can substitute out chemicals. It's not a comprehensive list, though. So there may be chemicals out there, there definitely are chemicals out there that we have not reviewed. These are only chemicals that we've reviewed through our product review process. It's a living list, so we are updating that list as we get new chemicals come into the program. We also update it when we get new data. So a chemical that meets our criteria today may not in the future if new data is developed. Let's see. There's so much to talk about.
Talk about the cost and how.
Sure. So the way a product manufacturer would come through our program, they would first check out our criteria. Look at the criteria, look at your product, make sure that you think it's a viable formula and it might meet our standard. The second step would be to reach out to one of our 2 third-party profilers, is what we call them. They are NSF International and Tox Services. This is all on our website. What they do is they help us with the legwork. So they profile all of the chemical ingredients in the product, and they go all the way back. They talk to suppliers. They make sure that the suppliers are also formulating the chemicals that meet our criteria. So they'll contact the surfactant manufacturer and say, hey, what are you putting in that surfactant blend? They'll contact the fragrance houses and ask what's going in the fragrance that's being added to the product. So they compile all of this information, they put in a report, and then if the product manufacturer wants to move forward, they send that report to EPA, to our team at DFE, or the DFE team at EPA. We review those reports. If everything looks good, great. We can enter into a 3-year partnership with the companies. At the end of that 3-year period, we re-review the product again to make sure that, as I mentioned, new data is developed, so we want to make sure that those chemicals still meet our criteria. During that 3-year process, there's also auditing. So each year, the manufacturer either has to have an on-site audit. Well, so it's a 3-year period, so we review, we do kind of an intense paper audit up front, then it's an on-site audit or a desk audit, and then the next year it's whatever we get to, so on-site or desk. And then we re-review. The cost associated with that, now we get to your question. So for the initial product profiling with those third-party profilers, that's where you'll see fees and costs. Those companies charge for that provider. There's also cost for the auditing, and those two, NSF International and Tax Services conduct the audits as well. On the EPA side of things, there's no cost for our review other than your taxpayer dollars, so thank you. And we don't charge to actually use the logo. So two costs, third-party profilers and the audits. The other thing I want to make sure that I mention today is, I wish I had the slide. Our logo, you may have seen it. It is a globe. Do you have it? So it is a globe, and it says "Designed for the Environment, US EPA," and there's a tagline, "Recognized for safer chemistry," with our website, epa.gov/DFE. We are now in the process of redesigning that logo. We are in procurement, so we have two sectors. You have the industrial and institutional product sector. Okay, so this is schools and hospitals and hotels, procurement, folks that these guys are helping out with. But then you also have the consumer sector, and these are retailers. So this would be if you were to go to, say, a retailer on Target and Walmart and Safeway, and you go in and you pick up a product off the shelf. That's the consumer market. We have heard loud and clear from our stakeholders that our current logo is not doing the trick in conveying to consumers what our program is all about. So we are now in the process of redesigning that logo, and we're literally in the process right now. So if you're interested in more, please do let me know, let others know, and we'd be happy to make sure you get our stakeholder list.
Thank you, Bridget. And speaking of labels, can you tell us, Brendan, a little bit about the guidelines that EPA and GSA published, the draft guidelines?
Sure. So yeah, recently, so this was an effort that has been going on for a couple years. Originally, GSA and EPA co-led to develop some guidelines around the federal use of environmental standards and eco-labels. Over the past, I think about a year ago, GSA kind of, long story, but the EPA took the lead and GSA was in support. Just to clarify. And with the purpose of the guidelines, it was kind of raised, I think, during the millennial conversation when they were talking about, you go to the store and it's hard to wade through all these different environmental claims and what really works and what should we be considering. And it's essentially the same at the federal level, meaning buyers are looking for not easy ways, but straightforward messaging that they know that a certain product is actually green. So we do that through, as far as the list of labels in the Federal Acquisition Regulation, we do have a list, and that's pretty clear, and that's what's on the green procurement compilation. But when you get to other products that aren't within that category, they're at the same level of confusion as the general buyer. There's over 400 eco-labels out in the market, and there's even more environmental claims, and buyers aren't qualified to determine and wade through that on their own. They don't have the expertise nor the time nor the inclination. So the point of the guidelines is to set a number of guidelines that looks at those standards and eco-labels to determine what does matter, what's an effective standard, what's something that should be used by federal procurement officers. So in the context of, I guess in broader context, the first key point is that it would be voluntary. It's not a mandatory set of guidelines that have to be used. This is something that EPA would put out there for voluntary use by agencies. The even more important point is that it doesn't affect the current regulatory requirements or the BioPreferred program. So the BioPreferred, Energy Star, all these programs that are in the FAR and used aren't applicable. So it's not going to change anything associated with the preference for bio-based content products. So that those guidelines were put out on the Federal Register last fall. I'm not sure if they're still available up there. I'm not sure if they stay up there once they're closed or not. They closed about two or 3 months ago. And so right now EPA is going through a long list of comments that they received. I think they received comments from over 77 individuals and groups. And they're a lot of very supportive comments. They're actually going through trying to categorize the comments based on the guidelines themselves. And lastly, I guess I should mention, the guidelines themselves do fall within general 4 categories. So when we talk about an effective standard or eco-label, most important is the category of the standard substance. What is the standard addressing? Is it a life cycle based? Is it multi-attribute? Things like that. Second is, what was the process that the standard was developed in? Third category is what are the conformity assessment procedures associated with that? So how do we determine that the product actually meets the standards? And then fourth is what we call program management, and that's for eco-labels where there's an infrastructure around the standard or program and how effective and transparent is that. So that's it.
No, I think that's good. Let's open it up for the audience to ask some questions of the panel.
I have a question. So in GSA Advantage, the vendors have the little green leaf logo that are designated as providing bio-based products, right? How does that, how are they determined to be, eligible for that category? Is that coming from the USDA website, or is it a variety of sources that's making up that list of vendors that have that special label next to their?
So the green leaf, it's actually at the product level. It's not designated towards a vendor. It's designated for a specific product. So the way GSA Advantage is set up, there'll be a product, and if there's a green leaf, if you click into that, then you can see all the different contractors offer. There may be multiple offering that same product, and the green leaf shows that one of them has designated it as bio-preferred or another environmental.
And so that bio-preferred vendor is coming from the USDA website, correct?
No, it's self-designated.
Okay.
And so that's what I was speaking to earlier when I said that accuracy is a great issue. We have a clause that requires vendors to identify those products accurately, but as I said, anecdotally, we know that's not the case, because if you see a bio-preferred, suit jacket or something like that, some product that's not even there, something silly, then you know it's not accurate. And we recently did a study where we do know that it's actually a fact that there are widespread inaccuracies. So what we encourage buyers, like I think your co-star,
Yes.
verify before you buy. I mean, start with what they're claiming to be bio-preferred, and before you make the purchase, verify that it actually does meet that environmental attribute.
Yes.
Hi, Bill Smith with BioOne. This question's for Bridget. How many products have gone through the DFE labeling process?
That's a good question. We're at probably just over 2,500 now. Predominantly, it's in that industrial and institutional sector, mostly driven by procurement, but we're seeing an uptick in the consumer side.
Can I just clarify kind of your answer, Susan, that when you click on a product, because one of the manufacturers on the list of vendors has a bio-based version, will it just show you the bio-based version, or will it show you everybody, and then you have to look a second time to find out which one is bio-based?
It shows a list of all the products sold by the vendor. I guess it's vendor names. And then there's the icon next to the one that selected it, so you can quickly see which one's claiming that it's bio-preferred or not.
But if I did that, let's say, for penetrating lubricant, I would get all the non-bio-based, as well as the bio-based, and then I'd have to look down the list, find the ones that were bio.
Yeah, if you search for lubricants, and you can check the bio-preferred box, that should bring up only the ones that have selected bio-preferred. But then once you get to that list of products, when you drill down to that, then you'll see the specific contractors that made the selection of those that did it. So we're looking into ways that we can automate this a little better. As I said, we found that accuracy is much better when we do have a list of products that we can automatically assign, and that's what we do with Energy Star and EP. Those programs send us a list of part numbers that we go in and automatically assign those products, so we found that accuracy greatly improves, and that's why I continue to encourage us to work with USDA to make that happen to the extent we can. We know there's challenges surrounding that. And finally, we are, in the near term, I'm pushing to have a service provided where there's an automated check. It's actually a group that DLA has this kind of process set up, data analytics background thing where we look at keywords and we can make a good estimation on which products are biopreneur or not. So we're really focusing on this issue for biopreneur.
Can you go in and make a global change? You're talking about things that are silly, because I've gone in there and I hit Biobased and, find out metal step ladder, Biobased. I don't think so. So, rather than saying to the contractor or the contracting officer one by one, where there's some global searches, you can go in and just say, remove this because it's clearly not in the Biobased product.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. We do spot checks like that. The challenge with that is we're at about 25 million products, I think, that are constantly being added and deleted. So when we see stuff like that, we correct it, but we can't stay on top of it internally within GSA. So the IT guys hate me because I always send them those things. They're like, oh, I don't know what's changing. So we're looking, this automated approach we're looking into, we think will be more effective than spot checking on